Hello everyone, we are live yet again and this is going to be one of my author's chats and it's a weekend one, so I'm excited about this. My co-host is coming in and will be chatting with me and she's chiming in from the UK, so weekends are a little easier to kind of arrange for those kind of things when we live in such different time zones. But we'll be getting going just shortly and talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. And apologize for my wild hair today. I blame the humidity outside. That's the blessing and the curse of living in the southeast. But as I'll kind of keep my eye out for my co-host. I'm excited that there has been a lot of things going on. I've mentioned this a little bit on my Friday Live, the fact that I had an audiobook release that actually occurred on Friday, which was, as an indie author releases through the Audible platform, you never exactly know the day it's going to launch, you just know the time frame, and it could be up to 2 weeks. So it was kind of exciting to realize that Asara's Claws is now available as an audiobook, which that one has been, it was my actually debut book, even though it's not my first audiobook, and that's one part because I dealt with the whole voice cast and the sound effects and music and a lot of things going on in that particular one, but it took a while to produce. So it's out and about, and that is something that can breathe a little easier now that it is done and I can move on to start some of these other projects and trying to catch up producing all these other audiobooks. So that was a big thing this past week, and I have also just received my author's copies of my latest book, the paperback versions, and I'm waiting for the hardcover so I can add them on my bookshop and be able to start distributing signed copies for people, so that's exciting too. But as I said, I'm going to keep my eye out for my co-host to see when she chimes in. So far, I don't think she's ready quite yet, but I always like to get on a few minutes early anyways before, so I can kind of let the notifications go out there to the general public. But that's the way it is. Anywho, hope everybody's weekend's been going well. There's here. Let me see if I can send it by. Boop. Hi.
Hiya, you right?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming and hanging out with me this weekend.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed the last one.
I'm glad. So since the last time we talked, I'll let you actually, in general, again, if this platform's nice and I'm able to repurpose this, I will be posting these videos on my YouTube channel. And for anybody who doesn't know you, let's just start out with you introducing yourself and what you write, and we'll go from there, kind of like last time.
Okay. So I write fantasy for young adults inspired by fairy tales. I have a dark retelling of Snow White called The Girl Behind the Glass. It has witches and wintry sort of vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have a slightly futuristic YA fantasy with like a pirate adventure. So 2 different series on the go.
Fun. How are you handling releasing 2 different series? Because I'm doing that, and it's sometimes a juggle.
I noticed that you do. You've got loads of books now, haven't you? Yeah, I'm enjoying it, to be honest, because my sequel to this one is with the editor at the minute. So I've had a little break from it, which is good. And then since I work in a school, it's been half term this week, so it's like our little week off before the final term, summer term starts, and then it'll be the 6 weeks after that. I think you guys have like a full break, don't you?
Yeah, in the US, we usually have a summer break for a couple months, typically, just depending on the school. But yeah, so a lot of people get off and be able to do their little vacations and trips.
Yeah. So for this week, I've been able to kind of like write the sequel to this one and just draft it and outline, like I've outlined the whole thing and I'm just going through the first draft, which is really nice because it's nice to be able to start something new again. Mm-hmm. While also have the same characters, obviously, that are in there.
Yeah, and I like writing in series, and not to say all my books are going to be in series. I definitely have a standalone in the wing, but it's one of the benefits of writing in series is that once you get through that first book, you have your characters, you know your world, your magic system if you use magic, and it makes it, at least in my mind, a little easier going forward. Of course, storylines can get more complex, et cetera, so on. So it's never purely easy, but it's some of that hard part is done. The groundwork is kind of set.
Especially when you've got your first book and you sort of know roughly where you want it to go in the rest of the series, and you can plot it out.
Yeah. So
it's tough. It's tough, but that's the fun of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And so with both of your series, do you have an idea how long each one will, like how many books are going to be in each respective series, or are you just writing and we'll find that out later on?
Yeah. So this one is going to be a duology. So this is book one, and then I've plotted out the rest of the second one. Like I've plotted every chapter this time, which I've not done before, because when I was writing the first draft of this one, I was really struggling to stick to it and not have characters randomly disappear, or like to get stuck through certain situations, or like
Mm-hmm.
I just got myself into a lot more stress with this one, trying to like pants it, I guess, right by the seat of your pants. So I'm trying to have more of like a structure to this one and know the ending, because it's going to be a duology, so I want it to be finalized the story sort of thing. So I thought I had to try and do the rest of it as well. But there are going to be lots of other fairy tale retellings in the same world. So some of the characters that will feature in this and in the following one will then have their own stories, but linked to these and stuff. So
It's kind
it's all
of,
fun.
oh yeah, and it's kind of like, I think that's a very popular thing, especially for, well, I only know as a fiction author, uh, creating again these worlds and then producing trilogies or duologies or small sub-series that are all in that same reality, but you could also cater them separately. So like, my example is the Grishaverse. So you have Shadow and Bones trilogy and then the duology of Six of Crows, but it's all the same reality, just different characters. And so that is kind of fun too. And that's exciting. So I feel like you have a lot of stories already in the back burner of your brain ready to jump out onto the paper when you get that chance.
What was fun was in the sequel to this one, I managed to do like a mini crossover to this story.
Ooh.
Even though they're quite different, but they both have witches in it. So, and in this one is all like mirror magic, and people can sort of go through mirrors as like portals if they have the certain magic, obviously. And so they were able to kind of visit the elders of this one, but a different kingdom from book one. So this is in book two. So book two, I only have the cover for it right now, but this is
Nice. Fantastic.
I took these to an event recently, so I kind of still have them on hand, which is nice.
I like that. And it's always nice. That's a very smart thing to do, is have like the image of your upcoming cover, because for promotional purposes for a book that's coming up, just, to show it, to talk about it, to kind of build that buzz, because your covers are gorgeous.
Thank you. Covers and Cupcakes is the name of my artist, if anyone is looking for cover artists.
Ooh, covers and cupcakes. I have my notepad. I always make notes of like things that I want to remember, and in the future, covers and cupcakes.
And her name's Josephine. She's lovely.
Josephine, perfect.
She's in the US too.
I love it. Yeah, no, I've worked with cover designers from all over the world, and it is really neat. But for like again, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, when you write a book and you know your genre and subgenre, etc., so on, you try to find a cover designer that's aware of what's trending in that genre and is capable of kind of again creating something that's genre appropriate. And so for retellings, yours are spot on, I think.
Yeah, she was very good with the book two for this one, I think, as well. Like, I didn't really know what to expect, although, so with this one, she came up with the full idea, concept, and she gave me loads of different concept ones that she thought that she might do for this one. So it's all high. I kind of gave her the wiggle room, which she liked. And then for this one, for the second book, I was trying to follow the castle idea. And then this book two has like a siren palace instead, and it's like in a cave, and it's got crystals on the outside of it. So that's what this is, the futuristic kingdom palace. And then I knew that I wanted the crystals on the outside to be like the Siren Kingdom for book 2. So I sort of
Very
gave her
nice.
the concept.
How many
She did
kingdoms
it
are in that series?
of 4 at the minute.
Nice.
Or
So you have
5.
Siren, you have your futuristic. What are the other two, may I ask?
So it might be 5. So it's Elysia, which is this one, the futuristic Steel City, and then this one is the Siren Palace, which is Aranthia. So book 2 is kind of narrated by a character that came out quite strongly in this one and had her own story. So but because basically there's 2 like kind of storylines in this book. You've got the pirate sea adventure and then the futuristic stuff. So 2 different characters. So Sirens, and then you have the Mermaid Kingdom, Enchantia, which is going to be book 3 cover. Hopefully that'll be like a shipwreck, mermaidy shipwreck type thing. And then I'm getting my and then the other character, Silver, goes off to Solaria, which is like the kingdom that came before this one. And it's all like witchy.
That's neat.
Yeah, the Siren and mermaids are obviously close together, and then
I like that. So for that storyline, with you're combining, sirens and mermaids and witches, and so where did that idea come about? I know I probably asked this earlier on when last time we've chit-chatted, but again, for anybody who doesn't know, like, where did your ideas for both series come from? Because again, they're similar but very distinctly different too.
I think that kind of came over time, because when I was writing this one, like I just had the futuristic storyline in the first bit. Like, it didn't go off into the 2 separate storylines with the other character. Like, the other character, there was 2 narrators and the same narrators, but we didn't have like the second character being kidnapped by pirates until like later drafts, which is where the other kingdoms kind of came from, and then it linked to him finding his own family, which is the Elf Kingdom, which is Paneria. That's the 5th one that I was thinking of that I didn't mention. It's kind of connected to the Siren character.
Nice.
If you meet all the characters in this, you sort of understand it more when you go to read book 2. So
I love that. Yeah. That's perfect. When I was working on my debut book, I remember Sarah's Claws, I was practically done with the book. I was like finishing it up, and it was supposed to be a standalone because I wanted to get to one of the other series that I've been waiting for years and years to write. But the funny thing is, I went to a writing workshop weekend or something like that, and came out realizing that, nope, there were 3 more books. So it was going to be a 4-book set. And so that was kind of funny because I did not expect that going in there. But then it is interesting how during the writing process, again, characters can come into being, or whole storylines, and then you're like, well, maybe I have to write another book.
They develop on their own. And it's weird how it happens over different drafts as well, isn't it? Like, not just the first draft is something completely different, and then
Yeah, no, and yeah, depending on the author and your style of writing, I'm a person that, I guess now, most of my books, the way I write the first draft, are pretty close to the end, but that wasn't always the case. And there are definitely authors that I know that have been writing for years and years and producing all kind of books, and they're like, yeah, my first draft is nothing like the end because you do the editing process and you tweak things, and then storylines, again, characters come up, and who knows. I remember, again, going back to Sarah's Claws and the fact that I did tweak a lot of things. Once I realized it was a 4-book series, I wanted to embed a little side character in the first book that would come back in all the other ones. Again, originally didn't intend to have other sequels, but once I did realize that, I was like, okay, let me fit this in before I publish it, so it kind of, again, goes a little more smoothly into the subsequent books.
you have to kind of make it make sense, even though you don't necessarily know how it's going to go for the next book that you write.
That running joke of readers like, okay, what happens next? And the writers are like, I don't know yet, but I'll find out soon.
It'll come to me, and I'll tell you later on.
I promise it'll come. It'll come to me. But for your fairy tale retellings, what influenced you to go that route for those series? Obviously, I love the idea of mirror magic. That is fantastic. But what struck you and was like, I want to do a retelling?
So I was doing a lot of like NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. And I was doing a lot of rewriting stuff. I was probably reading a lot of fairy tale retellings when I wrote it, because it was quite a few years ago. Probably 2017. I think I wrote this one. Like first wrote it.
Wow.
So I have quite a lot of drafts that I'd like to bring out in the future, but I'm nowhere near ready yet. But I don't necessarily know where the ideas kind of come from. Sometimes I just think of a new project and I try it, and then I'll leave it for ages, and then I'll go back to it, and then
I like that. I mean, there are so many ways for people to, because once you get into this rhythm of writing, coming up with stories, and there are a lot of ideas that come at you and are like, I want to become a short story or a book or a whole full-fledged series, and to kind of figure out, we only are capable of doing so much. So are you going to keep these ideas? Are you going to jot them down? Are you going to put aside the project you're working on and, jump on that because it's new, it's fresh? And it's hard because there's a lot of things that can distract you as a writer, and then you really need to focus in on what you're trying to produce so a book can finally publish. If that makes sense.
That's why I'm trying to stick to doing the two different series, and like trying to not. So once this duology sequel to this one is written and getting ready to be published, I'll probably leave that fairy tale thing for a while, and then finish off the rest of this first. Although I've got 4 books and a prequel planned for this, so that's going to take me a while as well. But
hey,
the second one is written, so that's a good start. And I've got the third one drafted. Not outlined, sorry, not drafted.
Well, and I'm curious, because this is the first time you've outlined to the extent, as you said a little earlier, to kind of fully plot out the book. I'm curious, once you start getting into it and writing it, and to find out how you like that process. Does it help you speed up your writing because you know what's happening in each chapter, or not? I'm just curious, because I loosely outline, but it's not very rigid. But some people who like pretty much block point to point, it takes them a while to outline, but as soon as they're done, they're pretty quick writing the story because now they know.
I've never done it like this. I've always been like, I think I used to be a pantser. Like, I'd write whatever comes to me, and then I'd plan and write, and that's how I've been pretty much since I've been writing and publishing. But now I'm trying to, because I think the sequel to this one was giving me more problems. Yeah. I think I'm trying to change it so that it makes it easier to write it, and having fun with the sequel to this one this week has kind of felt a lot easier to write. Although I still have the ideas, I know that I can change things if I want to, but I'm trying to be strict with myself and stick to it, because I'm happy with the outline, so I'm hoping that means it'll kind of be a more functioning, better functioning story, hopefully, by the end of it.
And I also wonder, again, I'll have to talk with you after you've written this particular book because of this outline approach for you, if because you have the outline and again you know what's going on, if that does help you lessen the amount of drafts in between, so all the editing process, because you know what's going to happen. I wonder if that's going to help pretty much taper it down and be like, nope, what I wrote is pretty close to what it's going to be, kind of thing. If that.
That's what I'm trying it this way, because I'm hoping that it will make the writing process quicker and easier, like you said, and also hopefully make it cleaner. And I'm pretty much hoping that by the time I'm ready for the sequel to be out, that I will get there and be able to publish a sequel to this one.
Yay!
Hi, Amy.
Okay. So what?
Precious Amy, she's one of my book talk friends.
Oh, I love that. Hello. But yeah, and anybody who's listening, if you have any questions for us or anything, feel free to put them in the comments, and we will try to answer to our best of abilities. But no, that is cool, and I'm excited for you to see, how both these series grow and build out. And once you finish your duology and, go back to your other series and just see how that works. And I see a comment saying, "Where's my signed copy?" Do you send out and sell signed copies, by the way? That is a good question, actually.
Yeah, I recently did an event at a really nice place called Hertford Castle, which is
Mm-hmm.
really pretty Hertford sort of location. Um, it was like Hearts Book Fest, and they had 2 different days, so I was able to do signed copies then.
Yay!
Maybe I will have a signed one for you.
Perfect. So sounds like she's ready, absolutely ready. And I love doing signed copies, and that's one of the things is thus the bookcases behind me of some of my physical copies that I sign and send out. And it's just a neat thing to do because not every author does it. It's interesting. Not every author does it, and even in the traditional publishing, how it's still rare enough that it's just that special thing, that little personalized touch to have it signed by the author, and that's so cool. I love collecting signed copies.
Events and things like that. The only problem with me has been like she has in the best way. May have is just like delivery prices and costs and things. But I want to do it, and I wish I could do more of it, like sending them directly if people are interested.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I know like when people from Europe or the UK that want my book, it is hard because shipping cost, especially internationally, that is crazy expensive, and so that's the downside of trying to do it as an indie author. It's like I'm doing my best, but there are tricks for people like the what do they call them? I can't think of it right now. I keep wanting to say book tabs, but that's not correct. But there's a term, and I'm blanking. It's been it's been a long weekend, but they're essentially like little stickers that authors sign and send out. And the reason why they do that is then someone who buys the
electronic
copy, yeah, and then they can put it in the book, and so it's still a version, a variation of a signed copy, and they can still have the signature signed by the author put into their book. It's just unfortunately, yeah, with the shipping cost, sometimes sending those for pennies on the dollar versus a whole book.
I love the idea of it because it's more personal, isn't it? It's like more between a reader and a writer. Like
Oh
when I was
yeah.
at that event, it was like couple of weeks ago. I had so many lovely people coming up to the table, and like they were looking at the character art, and that was what kind of drew them to it. I still
Yes, show
have
us
it if you want to
character
see it.
art. Ooh, fun. Ooh,
I
nice.
had these on the table.
Very nice. I love character art.
These are for the art for this one.
Nice.
Art that's inside it. And then I have
I need to do more character art.
these. I just did these on free prints. That's really good.
Ah,
These are for this one.
very nice.
I want to get my character for book 2 done as well.
That is neat. And again, like I think there are a lot of people who are very visual. So to see a character, even portrayed in any kind of artistic form, is not only eye catching, but people are like, "Oh, that's really neat," or "Oh, that person looks interesting. What's the story?" And you're like, "Well, let me tell you."
It's cool when you can kind of show them and go, "That's in the book. That's the character that." Yeah.
Let me see. Hi, that's my mom. Hi, mama. It looks interesting. What's the story? And wait, okay. Yeah. So wait, actually, since I think she joined in a little bit later, why don't you retell quickly that what your two premises are for your two respective series?
So this one is a dark retelling of Snow White. It's going to be the first in like a series of fairy tales all linked together in the same world. This one will have a book coming after it as well, the duology. And then I have a slightly futuristic YA fantasy. So this has got basically a giant kingdom of robots with an evil robot queen, but also like a pirate adventure, so a sea adventure. So it kind of goes off in 2 different storylines, both pretty much inspired by fairy tales. So if I was to have like an author tagline, it'd probably be inspired by fairy tales or something like that.
I love it. Retellings are so cool. And I've been enjoying doing my dark Viking fantasy retelling from
Really cool.
Nordic mythology retelling. There you go, Viking fantasy. But it's just a fun thing to do. Be it fairy tales, be it myth, be it legends or whatever. It's fun, and it's really neat to see how many people can look at the same story and then come out with like totally different storylines that are based off of that original concept.
Mm-hmm. There's a really good story. I think it's The Innocents, and maybe I'll try and find the link and send it to you because I do have the author on here. The
Ooh,
name has escaped me, but
it's
it's
okay.
very another Viking inspired sort of one, so that reminds me of that.
I love it. Oh, sorry. Karen was asking, what did you use for your character art? That's what she was trying to figure out. How did you come
I
about and
use
create this?
There's someone on here called Athena Bliss. She's an author as well. She's recently come out with her first book and is coming out with her second book. She designed these for me or commissioned them. I commissioned them with her.
Nice.
This is my Snow White character. This is my witch character, and this is my other main character that's linked to them.
That's perfect. That is so cool. I love that.
Free
Yeah.
prints. If you get character art commissioned, just put it on to free prints, and then you can print out loads of copies. That's what I did.
I like that. That's smart. Very smart. Yeah, because I use one place to print out character art that I've commissioned, but I need to just commission more pieces because I've only focused on a couple characters of one series, but because I have so many series, I'm like, I should go about and do some of the other characters from other books. I just haven't had the time and the money, I'll be honest, and the money, budgeting for that. But it is such a neat thing, and it does. Sorry, what?
You should do like a Kickstarter type thing or something. You see people, authors doing it a lot more recently. Do a Kickstarter for like special designs, and they do it for audiobooks and things like that.
Yeah, I've run a couple Kickstarters, but they all tie into the series that I did do the character art for because it was on the Kickstarter. But since the other two, I haven't like done a Kickstarter for those series. Again, it's that finding that budget for them. But that's a smart thing to do. And maybe down the line, I'll go back and do like a special pre-release of like a new cover limited run for my completed series, the Incarn Saga, because it's done, it's finished, but there's, just kind of like change things up and maybe, like you said, character art or, I love the idea of sprayed edges. I just have to go teach myself how to do that, I think.
There's someone on here, Slanted Shelf, I think her name is. She's really good. So she does sprayed edges, and I
Ooh.
don't think they're that expensive either. So you could try her.
What was her name
You've
again?
got a post-it note for these names.
I know, I'm like,
Slanted Shelf. Slanted Shelf.
Perfect. See, this is why I write with these notebooks. No, not every time I do a live, I get like fill out like little notes, but sometimes I do, and that's why I'm like trying to keep records of things because everybody has so many like good resources and ideas for everything, and
Yeah.
that's
It's good
really
to know
cool.
who other people used for different things as well, isn't it? Like
Mm-hmm.
two of those authors that were at that event with me, we all used the same formatter, and then two of them also used the same cover designer,
Oh
and then
wow,
I used a different cover
that's cool.
designer.
That's
So it's
really
like,
neat.
mm-hmm.
So how did you like? You've done that event. Was that your first time doing a signing, or have you done others prior to that?
So my first event was last year. It was the same event. This was the second year for the event. Um,
Nice.
but it's Hearts Book Fest. It's called. It was a really really good event. But it was 2 days this time, which was really nice. And then I volunteer for MK Lit Fest or Milton Keynes Lit Fest, which is where I live. So I sort of got joined in with them, and then last year again they managed to get me and the two authors that I did the same event with, in Milton Keynes where I live, and we did an event together at Parks Trust. So it was like this another again a really nice location. Just the three of us at a table. We got to do a little talk of like fantasy world building and things like that.
Fun.
So this was like the third one I've done, I think. So two last year, and then I've also got a bookshop event Sunday.
So and I'm asking this because I actually really do want to know. I'm hoping, I don't know if I will get an opportunity this year, but I'm hoping to sell some books at one of the conventions that I'm participating in, because I've been panelist and I know I am gonna be a panelist for a couple of them, but I also want to step my foot in the water of selling. So when you set up your table, and I know you said you had two other authors kind of with you, but what do you put on the table to catch people's eye? Obviously, you have your books and your cover art. Do you do anything else? Do you have a sign, or how do you set up your table? Because I really want to know.
So basically, so last year was my first time obviously doing it. I've got these poster like large, like they're like this size, A4 size, of the covers. So this one, and now this one. So I have those in front of me, like I'm standing behind the table, they're here. And then this year I had, with the character art that I got, I put them in little frames. Then I had them on the front of the table like that, with the posters behind. And then I have a little book stand for each of the books. So the book will be in the middle, in front of the right poster. So it's all laid out. I have pictures on my Instagram and stuff, but
I'll have to go and look, because that's the thing is, if I do get accepted and kind of have that opportunity, I'm like, what should I do? Do I need to, because I've seen people go and do everything from big banners or go super fancy, and other people are very simple, but they do it just well. You know, what they put on their little spaces are just the right amount and catches people's attention. So I was just curious. I just wanted to know.
my friend that I was sharing the table with this year was the same one that I was with last year. She was the one that's got us invited to the event, because it's where she lives. It's like Essex, which is quite near London. And she was releasing her third book that first day, as that was like her launch at that event. So she had balloons next to the table, and then she has a big banner, like the one that goes like all the way down, with Roxy Eloise on it and stuff like that. She's got a really good dystopian series. So then she's also got she did like a little giveaway type thing, which is cool. Like she has a bag with the cover on it, and inside it she had, like, for kids that they could win it, like a what are those big what are they called? Fidget things.
Oh yeah.
They're like this size, quite a big one, where you kind of push the holes and then they're like all rubbery. I don't know how to explain it. I can't remember the name of it. Probably. And then she had like a pack of Haribos with it and stuff, so that it was like inside the bag. So it's like someone could win the bag.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was obviously linked to the book. So
I like that.
Her third book in the series she just published, and she's got her fourth book coming out next year. So she'll probably release it either at the event or later on in the year, depending on when she gets the next one published, because she said she wasn't sure this time.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
So everyone's got
again, I'm
ways.
trying to figure this out, and I may not be able to get it working this fall, but in the future, I still want to go and start pursuing doing physical signings, because I love, again, I have now moved to direct sales online, and that's fun where I can sign and ship out copies, but to go to an actual event and talk face to face to people, that's just something a little different, and I still have to figure out, like, what do I do for setting up? How do I do this?
I think the character art was the one thing that helped me, so that might be worth getting some little character art. Put one of them in little tiny frames. It's like A5 size, or less than A5. It's probably like A6, something like that. Quite small, but so obviously it's eye catching. It's the first thing that people see. And my dad's got quite a nice professional printer, so I was using his fancy paper and his fancy printer to get the covers.
I love
and
that.
I put them on top of my bookshelf for the rest of the year.
I feel like because you do all these retellings and you have castles, especially on that one series, that you should have some kind of crown or tiara that either you wear or you put on, as a display piece. Again, just something on the table where people are like, oh, that's cool, because not only there's the book talk crown, and I understand people really love those, but it is it actually works with some of your stories, at least the aesthetic, and that'd be cool. I think, you do a book signing and I'm like, here's my tiara.
I think we talked about this last time, and you said like, oh, maybe I could do like a pirate hat.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Again, thematically, and it catches people's eye. I don't know, for mine, I guess what, a Viking helmet. So like my big domed helmet, that I have one. It's very, very heavy. I don't know if I would write it. Sorry, what?
I need to try out your books. They look good.
Well, thank you.
Different stuff.
Thank you.
Which one?
Yes. Sorry, what was that?
Which one would you recommend me trying first, since you have so many?
Well, I guess that's the trick question. It all depends on what kind of fantasy people like, because my Viking fantasy is aimed at adults. It is the darkest one, the grittiest one, but they're novellas, so they're quick reads. And by the end of this year, I should have that series complete. It's not there yet. 3 more to go. But yeah, so that one's a lot of fun, but it's, again, a lot more mature, and it's darker story-wise. Then I have the Incarn Saga, which I aim for new adult readers. It's a dark shifter fantasy. It's war-based, lots of battle and action scenes, animal shifters. And then the Jed Chronicles is my young adult series, and the characters do start on the young side of YA, as in 13, 14, and they age up throughout the series. But that's the fantastical fun quests, adventures, magical multiverse. You're going through portals and... Sorry, what was that?
Maybe I'll have to try that one first and then work my way through.
Yes, because I was gonna say it's fun, and it's supposed to be like a feel-good fantasy, because I do like the dark and gritty side, and I leave those books to be the ones where maybe characters unalive throughout, but the happy and fun and bright and just that really cool adventure and, again, quest. Like, think about it. Back when you were a kid, you wanted to go out to the woods and enter Narnia or some other kind of magical realm. That's the kind of vibe I wanted to channel, that kind of fun stuff. For that series. And that one just had the 4th book released a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I've seen you posting about that one.
Yeah. Put her right there. Okay, yes, put it back. Back on the shelf for you. But no, that's cool. So, okay, so do you have an idea of when... I dropped my paper. Do you have an idea of when you're releasing your next book? Because you have one at the editor, and you've already blocked out, the one after that in kind of a templated form. But when do you want to release your next book, if you could choose like an ideal date?
I'm hoping the summer, but the problem is I've just paid for my ISBNs, for my next set of ISBNs. You do the batch of 10, and I'm trying to do things each time I get paid, so I kind of have to wait. So I think my next thing will be my character art for the sequel to this one. So I'll probably have the same character from this one, but in a ball gown, because she's more of a getting ready to become a princess and a queen this time.
Yeah.
She's a princess in this one, but she doesn't necessarily know it until she goes through the book. So it'll be exciting to have the same character in a different form.
That's
and then
cool.
My pirate character, and then like an updated version of this guy is Eden. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah. Probably get that done next month. So I would like to do it this summer, but it just depends, because I would also have to get the formatting done once the book is fully edited, so that could take a little while. So maybe September. It just depends. I will hopefully have a pre-order thing coming up soon, but it's a bit up in the air at the minute.
Hey, that's okay. I mean, when I ask that question to different authors, like, sometimes people are like, I have no clue in the world when the next one's coming out. Others are like, it is this date for sure. And I'm like, okay, I always like having an idea, but I'm never good about like a specific date, because things can take longer than you expect. Formatting for some people may work very quickly, but for someone else, depending on who you use, if you're doing it yourself, hiring out, whatever, but that can take a while.
I have a very good formatter. She's lovely.
That's perfect. I love that. And no, that is cool. And I'm excited to also see, when you do commission these other pieces of character art, how your characters evolve in their looks throughout the series. That's a really neat approach to do it, because, again, just started doing character art. I should do a lot more for my various series, but I only have a few out so far.
For this one, the romance evolves for the main character, still Silva, for this one, for my princess character. And she ends up kind of, because she's a bit on the fence about the romance part towards the end of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of grows in book 2, which, because they end up like trapped together trying to save his sister, and he's got wings, and like I would love to get a really cool kind of couple artwork commissioned, but again that's more expensive. So I'm thinking maybe like if I could do a Kickstarter one day or some kind of fancy special edition, it'd be cool to have a cover with the two of them on it or something.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Definitely. And I think that is really neat. And but yeah, that's the thing is we want to do all these amazing things with our books, but everything has a price or time or both. And both time and money are things that we don't really have a lot of. At least when you're starting out.
Trying to do everything yourself.
Time and money. I wish I had more of both, but no. And I will forewarn you. I realize I have a dying fire alarm, and so if you hear chirping periodically, it must be that because I just heard it chirp and I was like, uh oh.
I didn't hear it. I was too busy talking. So
That's good. That's good. I just didn't want it to be annoying if it continues to occur, which most likely it will. But that's good. Anywho, since the hour is speeding by, I do want to make sure I cover some of the basic questions. And I know we talked about these, the last time I did one of these, but every time I film, I always want to make sure we are on top of the basics. Where can people find and get your book? So where are you distributing? Are you exclusive through Amazon? Do you sell direct? Are you wide? That kind of thing, just because people want to know.
Amazon. This one is now on Audible as well, has an audiobook.
Ooh.
And this one has an audiobook being produced right now. So this one will eventually have an audiobook. And then as soon as book 2 is ready, I'll probably send it to her as well for if she wants to do book 2 for me. So yeah.
I love that. Congrats.
Amazon and Audible.
I like that. And it's obviously paperback. You said audio, ebook, I'm assuming. Do you have hardcovers or do you just stick with paperbacks?
Hardback as well, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So a little bit of everything because I know I'm a person who likes print, but someone else may want ebook, and I get audiobooks. You're going to reach a whole new group of people, and that's one of the reasons why I'm scrambling to try to catch up and produce audiobooks of all my work, because it's nice to be able to offer my story to anybody, no matter what format they prefer.
My mum bought a copy of this one in hardback, and it was huge.
Nice.
It's like, this is 145k, so
wow.
I had to do the bigger size because of that. So like they're actually taller.
Wow.
But they look good.
Hey, that is impressive. Because I like writing bigger books. I know I tend to write bigger books, but you can play this with size and fonts and all that kind of stuff. And to make it look not as big, but it's so funny because for my young adult series, I had someone read it and was like, that was surprisingly longer than I thought it was. It was like they didn't realize how many words, because it doesn't look like it's a huge, huge book. And then they actually got into read it. They're like, oh wait, no, that was a decent sized book. I'm like, haha. I got you.
Sometimes it just happens that way. You have more things going on.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Now let me also ask, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? Like, do you have a website, newsletter, other socials, that kind of thing? Just want to make sure we're covering all the basics.
Yeah. So Instagram is AprilGrace1. YouTube and X or TikTok, April Grace Reads. TikTok is just this. That's pretty much it. And then my website, april-grace.com.
Perfect. And it's easy to find because it's a smart thing you did to name it after yourself, because some authors have made mistakes, and I've done it for different platforms, not for a website, but to name it after a book or series and not yourself. And if you're an author who then starts writing other series, then it gets really confusing because people are like, why am I looking up this one series when I'm trying to find you and this other, these other works? And so it's smart to always make sure you have that uniformly across. But yeah, so okay, so going back to your first story, you're doing your duology, and it's again retellings of fairy tales. So what would potentially, I know you have another four books of your other series, but what would be your potentially next fairy tale retelling after this duology? Because this one is based on Snow White, correct? So what would be the next one? Can I know?
So I have a Sleeping Beauty one drafted, very rough draft, but again from years ago. The character. So when I wrote this one, we got it ready. The world was very similar, so I tried to make sure that it was kind of the same world building as the other one, so that I could then link it. And I had the character that's going to be in that one pop up in
Perfect.
here.
I love that.
Um, so she's going to be Sleeping Beauty, but then in the book two that I'm writing, that I started writing like this week, I've got about 9. I'm on chapter 9, I think, out of about 30 chapters, something like that.
Nice.
Um, she's going to have a love interest that is going to be Cinderella.
Huh.
So, Cinderella she'll have her own story, but it'll probably come after the book two for this one. So I'm going to have to be quite clear in my socials about, if you want to read my fairy tale retellings, maybe read this series first, then read my. I wanted to have it so that you can understand them all, no matter what way you read them.
Yeah.
But that's proven harder than
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be.
Well,
But
it is a smart thing to do is have, somewhere, maybe it's on your website or, some reference where people can look up and say preferential recommended reading order. And again, you don't have to do this before warning. If you do have like a method to your madness, in other words, say, hey, this is the way I would recommend as an author to read the books, but you can choose however you do, enjoy them however you want. But this is how I recommend.
I also want to have so that some of my like good queens and my villains will have different sides to them shown. So like I want to have the good queen in this might be shown as a villain in another story with another
Ooh.
character, if you know what I mean. So my Sleeping Beauty, I have a rough idea for how I want to change her villain.
Huh.
But I wrote this years. I'm just using what I wrote years ago. I can't really remember a lot of the plot, but I remember a vague idea of it. So
Hey,
I can rewrite that and stuff.
and again, that is kind of fun. It's like just rediscovering your own work. And it's funny the way I write. I'm always working on new, or trying to always write new material going forward. But because I'm always a number of years, at least in advance of my publication date, when I come back to like edit, I will go back to the story. It's like rediscovering it. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot I wrote this. Oh yeah, that
Because you can
happens.
play around with it. So
Yes, exactly. It's fun. It can be so much fun. And I feel like you are a very fast writer. If you've plotted out 30 chapters and you're already on 9, I'm super jealous.
I'm making the most of the school holidays. That's all it is.
Hey, that's the way to do it, and that's great. And kudos to you because that's giving you 30. You're almost a third of the way through. Wow.
Still drafting, but hopefully I will have less editing to do by the time it's written because I'll have hopefully be happy with the way that it's
Mhm.
structured.
And that's like I said, I would love to hear how that works for you because doing a new approach, sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work the way you want. And I hope this works really well for you because, yeah, I want to be better about drafting my work a little bit more, but I have so much fun of letting it do its thing. But it's also a slower process when I'm writing because I never, when I'm tackling a chapter, I may not exactly know how that chapter is going to end, and it takes me a little longer to stare at the page and be like, where is this going?
I tried to leave myself a little bit of wiggle room, so I'm like, this is this going to happen in this chapter, but then this is going to lead into this. Oh, because it's going to have 4 narrators, so it's like one character, 2, 3, 4. Next character, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that I think that kind of helped a bit. But this one's got 3. But But the same thing happened with the series. It's that I have a character that kind of popped out at me and needed to have their own story. But that kind of works really well. And he starts out as like a drag queen, like in the first chapter.
I love that.
Which was really fun to write. And he's going to have his own little story, but he kind of came in at the end of this one as like, he's like a side character, but he kind of showed his face and he's actually more linked to what's going on than he thought he was. So he's going to have his, I guess, his story arc more for book 2. And I want the villain to be a slightly different villain to this one, but then to have a redemption arc, is it? They say.
Yeah.
So.
That's neat. I know there are so many people who love a good villain. And when I say a good villain, obviously, I don't mean a good villain. I mean like a well-written villain that has a story, has its own idea, has its own identity, weaknesses, strengths, whatever. And when people hear their backstories, they're fascinating. And then you throw in their redemption arc, people will probably eat that one up. They'll be very excited.
Hopefully it'll be good.
That's great. And I love the fact that you mentioned a little earlier about how you want to take different characters that may be good in one of the books, and then you see them from a different light, and they're a villain to someone else. And I think that's a brilliant way of writing.
Thank you. Hopefully it works.
I do too. It sounds great. At least I was like, I'm sold on that. So, what is your favorite way of reaching new readers? Do you like to, do the social media stuff? Do you like doing the face-to-face? Like, how do you like reaching new readers and meeting them and talking with them and, hopefully selling your book to them?
Well, TikTok's been really, really good. Like, I've made so many, like, lovely friends on here. Even just recently, the last week or so, I've been jumping in these, like, book talk lives with a lot more people in the UK as well, because I had a lot of friends in the US. Now I have friends in the UK on here too, and like doing book fairying and bookish reviews and things. So like that's been really nice, like making a lot more friends on that side of it. But I absolutely loved the feeling of being at that event and like just standing behind the table. I was probably smiling the whole time. My face was hurting by the end of it. Or I felt like I was probably looking at them like with a creepy expression or something because I was trying to be friendly.
Hey, holding a smile, especially days on days, that can be tiring. Like, I don't remember how many muscles in your face, are activated for a smile, but it can be tiring.
My partner kept coming in and just like bringing me lunch in the middle of it. Bless him.
Thank you. You need a break. Pause, eat, take a moment, start again. But yeah, no, that's cool, and I'm excited. That is fun. I love that, and hopefully I'll get to experience that before too long. But I may be picking your brain behind the scenes periodically, being like how many books do you plan to bring at an event? That's one I'm still trying to figure out. How many books do you bring?
It's so expensive, isn't it? Like I brought 15 of each, and I've still got some left over. So I'm going to use them. I have a bookshop event this next week, Sunday next week. It's my first ever bookshop, just on my own, because the first time, like I said, I've done things with those 2 authors.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to uni in Luton, and so there's a bookshop there that I said, "Oh, do you take indie books?" And they were like, "I fancy doing a bookshop event." So I was like, "Okay."
I love that.
Never done one before, so yep. People may or may not turn up, but we will see.
Hey, you never know unless you try. And the thing about, I do think it's smart, when you're trying to do these events, to figure out that sweet spot of books, because like you said, it's expensive to get them, I understand, and then tote them around as well. But you want to always have, I think, a couple. I love when people are like, "Oh, I sold out," but I feel like it's even better to have, 1 or 2 left over, because you never want someone to come up and be like, "Hey, I want your book," and you're like, "Well, it's sold out. Sorry." Missed that opportunity. But I hope, yes, and I hope this bookshop event works well for you you said next weekend? That's so exciting.
Yeah, should be nice.
Are you gonna do a reading, or are you just gonna sign, or how's that gonna work? Do you know?
I think it's a reading. It looks like a nice little bookshop that does different kinds of events, so it could be good. I
I
think
love
a
it.
few of my friends from Luton that still live in Luton might be coming. They've
Ooh,
sort of had their faces on the Facebook event, so
hey,
we'll
I love
see.
that. That's cool. And I hope you get a full house, as they say,
Hopefully.
or full
Nice.
bookstore,
Yeah.
full bookshop, something? Question mark.
Mhm.
That'd be cool. And yeah, I've done a couple of readings before. I've done little signings like that, and those are always kind of fun. But it's something I want to be better about is figuring out excerpts. Like, do I start from the beginning and read like the first chapter, or the prologue, or do you pick a scene throughout the book that's really exciting, but then you have to kind of explain it? Like, that's something I'm still trying to figure out too.
I think I did it once at the event last year. Um, we all just, because we all just did like a little paragraph, or I think I just picked. So in Still Princess, there's like a cruel queen. She's a robot queen, and this is when the character Silver meets her for the first time, and she doesn't realize the queen doesn't realize that she is actually the missing daughter or the
Mm-hmm.
missing princess. But she's talking about how she's been missing her from her in like plain sight and things. So you can
Yeah,
have something that kind of like that shows the story, emphasizes what's happening in the story. Just like
perfect.
something that draws people in, and if they ask questions, they ask questions.
And that's what you want, to draw people in, to get them excited. They want to know more, and you're like, okay, well, the book is right here. Take it home with you. But no, that's great. That's absolutely great. And you're giving me a lot of things, Victor, to like look into going forward, because again, all of us are always trying to just learn as much as we can and improve. And I get my little swipey thing that's saying I've reached my hour. I don't know why it forces me to do this now. There we go. And I am here. I'm still going live, but it's. I lost my train of thought, so I will probably end it there because that really did distract me. But actually, since the hour is almost done, let me ask. It's always what I always want to make sure I ask. Is there any topic that you had, April, that you wanted to cover, or questions that you had that you wanted to ask? And the same goes for anybody listening right now, because we have a few more minutes, but I want to make sure we cover everything you wanted to cover today.
I think you pretty much covered all of it. Social, everything. We kind of just ranted at each other a little bit. That's the best way.
And what was the book shop that you're going to do in your event next week? Just in case someone listening from the UK wants to pop in, what's the bookshop?
It's called
Yeah.
Brown Books in Luton.
Nice. That's so exciting. I love that. If I lived closer, I would probably pop in and say hi. But it's a little bit of a trek, from the southeast in the United States to get over there. A
I'm
little
sure
bit
you
of
can make it in a day.
yeah, yeah, I could.
Very tired.
It'd be a big investment, But at some point, I think it would be really cool to go over and because I know a lot of authors in the UK, and to be able to do something there. But in the future,
Yeah,
one day in the future, that would be
and if
cool.
you do, hit me up and I'll.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with me today and chatting with me about books. This is fantastic, and I always love talking with my fellow authors, and I've had a blast talking with you the last couple times. And again, if you ever want to do one of these chats, again, I do plan in advance, and I try to do them more or less weekly, minus the fact I'll be on a trip this summer for a couple weeks, so there will be a dead zone this for a few
That's
weeks.
fine. I'll probably will come on again at some point. Maybe once I've got one of the other ones out and I can show it to you.
I love that. And again, love your covers. They are fantastic. And I love your ideas of your stories, and they're so cool. So I can't wait for you to release the next one and see where that goes for you.
Thank you, and you. I'll have to check yours out.
Thanks. And for everybody who's listened today, thank you so much. And again, I do them weekly. I can't think off the top of my head for my next one, but it's Wednesday, I think, but I'm not positive, so don't hold me to that yet. But thank you again, April, for hanging out.
Soon.
Yes. I know I need to. But I do need to go and run off. But thank you so much, and we will talk soon.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Talk to you later. Thank you, Katharine.